A lot of people out there, you got all the gurus, all the influencers, and all these other guys teaching how to buy businesses, telling you that it's the next hot thing. And my personal opinion, I think nothing is the next hot thing unless it's right for you.
Yeah.
I guess they're not even gurus anymore. It's just influencers. There's so many now. Like all the online courses are insane now, right?
The reason you signed up, right, was for access to those folks or have conversations with them. But then you come to find out that your personalities don't match, or they're not available, or you got to be on a group coaching call, or they're only on once a month, or whatever the case might be, versus having access to someone that's, actively doing what it is that you're doing.
Anything that I invest right now, I know that I probably won't get a return on my money for about a year or two. Aside from the short-term rentals, those usually cash flow very well, but the business hits both, right? You can make instant cash flow year one, and in 5 years be able to sell it at an extra multiple.
It's just a zero. So if you're going to do a $2 million deal, it's the same amount of work as doing a $20 million deal, right? Just think about it, right? It's just about the mental capacity of the stress of understanding the risk, understanding the capital that's going to be raised, the commitment, the guarantee, all of these things. It's the same amount.
Welcome to The Big Break Show, your go-to podcast for real estate investing, business acquisition, mindset, and lifestyle. Now, let's dive into Season 2 with your hosts, Loza and Dan Tollens.
What's up, guys? Welcome to our third short segment of The Big Break Show. What's up, brother?
Living it.
You know who I'm with? Dan Tollens. So we're still here. I know you guys might have seen us here still checking out, but we're trying to record small segments for you guys about experiences that we're going through to give you guys real life references, real world examples, things that I've been going through in my journey of non-investor to investor to owning property to now, which we're going to talk about today, is buying businesses where we both have some experience in, right? So I know right now you have all the, the Cody Sanchez's of the world and all these other guys teaching how to buy businesses, telling you that it's the next hot thing. And, my personal opinion, I think nothing is the next hot thing unless it's right for you.
Yeah.
Right. If it meets your goals, if it meets your standards of where you want to go, the things you want to accomplish, it meets the time, where you're at in life, and it's something that excites you, I say, go all in and give it a shot, right? A lot of people out there, you got all the gurus, all the influencers. I guess they're not even gurus anymore. It's just influencers. There's so many now. Like all the online courses are insane now, right? Where people are teaching you things that they've gone through. And in some cases, if you get unlucky, you get the guys that are teaching you stuff they've never actually done.
Or exited.
Correct. Or correct. You got to be careful with these things. And I think the idea here is you got to pick and choose and find the right people in the right groups that you resonate with, but you've also have done your research on and have actually vetted and talked to people that know people in those groups, right? Don't just sign up to a $500, $5,000, $10,000 group just because you saw a good video on Instagram that looked appealing to you. Talk to people in the groups.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing is, let's say you find someone or a group that you like, but then you sign up, and then those folks the reason you signed up, right, was for access to those folks or have conversations with them. But then you come to find out that your personalities don't match, or they're not available, or you got to be on a group coaching call, or they're only on once a month, or whatever the case might be, versus having access to someone that's, actively doing what it is that you're doing. Or that is doing things that you want to get to, right?
Yeah.
So, that's the whole nother figuring out who you're going to listen to and who you resonate with, but getting the full value out of your investment, and whether that's something that's free and you're getting value out of the time that you're spending listening, or actually a paid service that you feel like you should have access to certain things, right?
Agreed. And that's such a good point. I mean, there's one reason why I pay to be in these groups, going back to the business one we're going to talk about shortly, is because I want access to the experts, not just to be a part of the group. I can pay to be in any groups to be around good people. I'm not saying anything bad about that or throwing shade on anything like that, because you could pay a high-end group, not have access to the person that you want to have access to, but you meet really good people along the way, right? Yeah. And I think we've both experienced that as well. And so the idea here is finding the right group that you're going to get the value that you initially intended to get the value out of from that group, right? And in this situation, I'm in a group, and shout out to Kyle. We both know Kyle, right? We're going to talk about Kyle Malian for a second. I never know how to Malian or Malian. I never know how to say his last name.
Depends who you're talking to.
Yeah, true. And he's a great dude. I joined his group when he had 50 people in it. Now he's probably got a little bit over 300 people in it, and paid a hefty penny to be in it. And I think it was worth literally every penny.
Sure.
Because right now I'm in the process of purchasing a business, and we're currently looking for deals, service-based businesses. And I know you've gone through a full term where you've actually purchased a business.
Yeah. So to speak to your point, about Kyle's group, I think it is second to none as far as what that group is offering, and the people that are in it that are actually closing deals and moving the needle. I know you and I've attended I've heard his story 3 or 4 separate times, and paid to be at events that he was at 2 or 3 different times, which is probably close to what you paid to just get in the group. So, there's both sides of it. And then I actually had an opportunity to present a deal that we had to his group, which was super cool. But yeah, so as far as businesses, we've purchased, 5 hotels, which were existing businesses. We rebranded several of them. We kept one of them and built off of what was there. We also bought a dumpster business and grown that. So as far as what Kyle's specific buy box is, everything we have purchased did not meet that criteria, right? I mean, his is $1 million to $10 million price point, been in business 10 years, at least 10 employees, no key employee. So let's say they sell the business, but the owner is the one running it and his wife. And then so you buy it and then they leave, then the business goes to shit, right?
Correct. Any family members as key employees.
Right. But as we're growing our dumpster business, it's like, okay, well, those are some of the metrics we do meet. We don't have 10 employees. We've been in business 5 years, not 10, but that's one of the other, our price point is in that. And, we do have a key employee that if he were to leave, it would affect the business because I don't work in that business. But I think just like all the other ones, if you buy it, I was talking with my brother who's looking at working for a property management company, and kind of the same thing. He's like, this equity firm, they own it. And then they have this one guy that runs it, and then they just touch base with them once a week or once a month. I said, that's exactly how it's done. And then they hire general managers to run it. So I think with his particular group, though, there's a lot of folks that have done it, and they're still in the group. It's not like they just bought one and then they're done. Like, hey, now let's figure out how to vertically integrate. There's folks that have bought transportation companies and other businesses, and they're just figuring out how to continually move the needle. And being around those folks, gives you, that feeling of confidence that it is possible, right? And these folks are actually in the business and doing it. And, that group has not gone away, right? So you get real life experience. You get to network with people that are doing it, and they're still coming to the event. And it's not, hey, I did it, now they're gone.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, what type of, businesses are you guys looking for, and what are kind of some of the struggles that you have faced? I would say prioritizing it would be one thing, because I think all of us, we're not trying, like a lot of the folks that are in that group, they have, a decent job or a job, and they're looking to either go buy a business that then they're buying a job, which is really not what he teaches, but it is a possibility. Or you're trying to get out of this 9 to 5 or somewhere you've worked forever, where for us, we've kind of already have that freedom from real estate. So it just kind of has to fit in with what we're doing. And for us, it's buying service-based businesses on the eastern coast of North Carolina.
Yeah, for me, first, I never even thought I'd be buying a business, right? Like ever. And so the fact that when I decided to do it, it was a big mindset shift, because I was always like, oh, I'm going to buy 1,000 houses and cash flow like crazy. And then I was like, wait a second. I was like, I don't really need to do that. I can actually buy a couple, be well off, and then find another source of income. And actually talking about being in these groups, in that real estate mastermind group that we're in, a good buddy of mine, Paul, he was like, hey, I'm looking to buy a business, and I met this really great guy, again, talking about vetting people in the groups you're going to be in. He's like, this guy's fantastic. He's like teaching me all kinds of stuff. He's hands-on. He helps out with the deal. He'll walk you through the deal. He'll hold your hand basically. And he teaches you his proven strategy. And so I was like, well, who is it? Right. And it goes back to Kyle. So I end up joining this group, and I'm like, it opened up my mind. I realized, it was a no-brainer. So before I get into the hurdles, I want to share this, because my thing is like, oh, if I buy $1 million property, that's going to make at least 10%, right? What do you're going to end up making at the end of the year, 100,000 in revenue. Out of that revenue, right, from that $1 million property. So you buy a property for $1 million, you put 10% down as a down payment. It's $100,000 down. And then you can end up probably revenuing on the high end 100,000 if you buy it in the right market with the right interest rate, right, at the right time. And it's cash flowing well as a short-term rental, because that's my expertise. You'll probably be pocketing $40,000, $60,000 a year. So you're making what, 4% of that?
Yeah.
Right. Or when Kyle explained this, it was like, it just clicked in my head and I was like, oh my God, it's like a life hack that I just figured out. It was, or I can take $1 million, buy a business, right? Put 10% down through an SBA loan, which is $100,000. But at the end of the year, it's making $100,000 in profit. So 10% of true profit.
Yeah.
Which one would you prefer? $40,000 in profit or $100,000 in profit, right? And a business that's been in business for, right, in operations for 10 plus years.
Yeah, but I think you're even selling a little short. I mean, the metrics that they're using and pulling, they filter out the ones that are doing that. They're
I'm talking just for numbers' sake, just using $1 million.
Yeah, but I mean, even then, they're still it's usually 150 to 200.
Yeah. So actually going to to the next point here, and I'm glad you brought that up, is the buy box, so to speak, going to what you were talking about earlier, being it has to be in operations for more than 10 years. It has to be
at least
service,
5.
Preferred
correct. More than 10.
Preferred more than 10, correct. It has to be a service-based industry, nothing tech, AI, digital, none of that stuff, no e-commerce.
No FedEx routes.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's got to be 10 or more employees, but the one you missed was it's got to be a 20% profit ratio.
Right.
Right? 10 to 20% is the number. Meaning that if I buy $1 million business, I could potentially profit $200,000 in profit, right? Revenue, it's probably doing
that's profit. Again, that's profit. That's
like take home money,
right?
Like throw it in my pocket and
that's not net operating income. That's after you've paid off the debt to own the business.
Correct.
After you've paid the rent for the mortgage for where the business is functioning out of. That's after all payroll. That's after all expenses.
Correct. When I figured that out, where I was like, wait, my same 10% can go and buy me a $1 million property, or it can buy me $1 million business, but I'm going to profit, instead of 40, I'm going to profit 5X at 200,000, right? 100,000. I'm like, ding, light bulb moment, right? I was like, okay, it's time to take this serious. I signed up to the group and we went at it, and we've submitted 3 LOIs now. Nothing's came out of them. That's okay. It's more of like, it's like in real estate, you submit an offer, right? Some are good, some are not good.
You're getting the reps done.
Correct. We're getting
making offers.
Like now I can look at a business and run numbers really quick. One thing I was terrible at is looking at P&Ls, profit and loss reports. I was like, holy crap, my brain was just like scrambled. Right.
Or now, figuring out the add backs, or when you're looking at that's the other thing, is when you're looking at the documentation that is given to you, right? That you sign a non-disclosure agreement, they send you the financials, or they send you, their projections and all of these add backs, and most of the time, some of those add backs, are not accurate. So they inflate that bottom number. So you learn all the different things that you're able to actually look at this thing and accurately give yourself a true picture. Yeah. And again, you're learning from people that this is what they do all day, every day. And I think it's very similar to real estate as far as, when we look at a fix and flip, or when we look at a motel deal, we know exactly, we can tell you whether it works fairly quickly. Some of these deals, you can send me a number and I'll know, like,
literally,
while we're on the phone. Done. Yeah.
Right. You don't even have to write it down.
Right.
Like you just know right off the bat.
So what are some of the struggles that, like we kind of touched on, was it being a priority, or already kind of being in a position to where it will move the needle for you, but it's got to be specific. You're not trying to get out of a 9-to-5 job. Right. We already have the freedom that we have.
Yes. I'm glad you brought that up. So the biggest one that I've actually encountered, the struggle that I've encountered, is buying a deal large enough because I don't want a job. Exactly what you just said right now, right? There's a lot of guys in this group that are looking to be operators because they just want to get out of their 9-to-5 and their 9-to-5, and they're willing to put in the sweat equity to be the person running the business, managing the business, moving to the location, being boots on the ground, doing all that. I'm very blessed to be in a place in life now where I don't want to do that. Right. I've worked hard enough in my short-term rental business to where, like, I'm I don't want to have another job or start over from scratch.
Right.
So the biggest hurdle I've had is finding the deal where I don't have to be the operator. It needs to cash flow enough and be enough profit to where I can take a large chunk and pay a really high level operator to take over the business. That requires more down payment. It requires a very specific type of deal. Numbers have to be very specific. And it also requires a very small pool with all the other criteria that we have.
Well, I think the group is being taught a certain buy box, and that's fantastic. But those that are really moving the metrics fast are the next level above that, the next filter. So, it's just a zero. So if you're going to do a $2 million deal, it's the same amount of work as doing a $20 million deal, right? It's just about just think about it, right? It's just about the mental capacity of the stress of understanding the risk, understanding the capital that's going to be raised, the commitment, the guarantee, all of these things. It's the same amount, whether it's a $2 million deal, $20 million deal. Let's say it has the same amount of employees, all the other things are the exact same except for the bottom line.
100%, dude.
You know what I mean? And so I think that's for us, that's where we found our little niche with these hotels is where are we staying just slightly below, the equity groups that are coming in and buying all this, or where the corporate groups are coming in and buying all of that, or where can we get in low enough where we can force the appreciation, and then all of a sudden we have a portfolio that's big enough that one day we either exit to one of those groups, or we've got a lot of redevelopment that will be coming our way in 5 or 10 years. I think the other thing is also not thinking so short term. I think a lot of folks are just focused on the first 1 to 3 years as opposed to let's think about the 5, 10, 20-year metric.
Yeah, I think with that point too is a lot of people are caught in this world right now where it's like the quick money, the upfront money, not the long-term money, right? And I'm about the long-term money. Right. Anything that I invest right now, I know that I probably won't get a return on my money for about a year or two. Sure. Aside from the short-term rentals, those usually cash flow very well, but that's because it's like you happen to buy at right times or do a certain, like arbitrage is instant cash flow, right? My biggest thing has always been cash flow, but the business hits both, right? You can make instant cash flow year one, and in 5 years be able to sell it at an extra multiple. There's a few things I want to touch on here with this business deal. To the point that you're talking about is where you said earlier was the add backs. I want to be able to, and the second point is the equity multiple, right? So for me, the biggest deal, everybody here knows, right? All my listeners and viewers, our listeners and viewers, I shouldn't say mine, our listeners and viewers know that I'm about cash flow. Yeah. Right? Everybody knows I love fucking cash flow. I love cash flow. Like I do only cash flow deals. For a long time, that's all I wanted. Now I'm getting a little bit more in equity deals, but the business gives you both. A lot of people don't know that you actually have good equity that actually amounts to your net worth over time. And actually does better than real estate in some cases, right? Not 100% of the time, right? People get into real estate because that's what expands your net worth, but it also helps. Real estate helps with the tax benefits. That's a whole different story in terms of the money you're making up front, right? The active income. And so with the business, going back to the $1 million deal, if I'm making $200,000 a month, a year, instantly you're like, holy, like, what am I going to do with an extra 200 grand a month, right? Like do what I want, when I want, where I want, with who I want, whenever I want, right? Like, so instant, like better life. But it also means I got to hire the right person to expand and grow that business, right? There's also risk involved. So you got to know somebody that's doing that. But the goal is, for example, part of the buy box, right? Back to the 10 employees, that whole thing. The search criteria is to buy at a 3x multiple. Right. So a 3x multiple, for those of you guys that don't know what that means, is if this thing's cash flowing for the last 3 years on average, $100,000, then it's going to be worth, in revenue. If it's doing in revenue, it's going to be worth 3 times whatever that is. Oh, is it revenue? No, it's EBITDA.
EBITDA. It all depends.
Well, it depends. I mean, everybody looks at it different.
Well, like a dumpster business. So if we do 2 million, it depends on like each class, right? Each class of business, right? So dumpster business might be 2x, might be 1x, might be 3x. So we would get, whatever 1 year or 2 year or 3 year business was. And then you also have ones where you buy something that you can expand significantly just by cleaning up automation and adding software, or just expanding the the workforce.
Right. The reason why I brought up the add backs and the multiple together is because the add backs that the seller adds raises the profit, therefore it does a higher multiple, right? And so to clarify the picture here, it's starting to get a little confusing. An add back, let's clarify that, and then I'll get into the multiple. The add back is something that on a business, for example, I own a business, a short-term rental business, but my car gets paid through the business, right? My travel gets paid through the business to an extent within the law and the taxes and stuff like that. My office space gets paid through the business. In some cases, meals get paid through the business.
Right. Well, let's say you were also getting the salary.
Correct.
Right? And not just what was left over.
Right. And I get okay. So let's talk about, let's just say I pay myself $60K a year.
Sure.
Right. All these things we just talked about, when you go to sell a business, that new buyer is not going to have those expenses. Therefore, that gets added back to the number as profit, right? Because now, let's say I sell my business to you, and you don't need that salary. You're not going to get, you're not going to write off those meals. My car payment's not going to be part of your expenses. Those are add backs, things that the seller adds back to the number for profit. Now that profit goes higher. Therefore, that multiple, when you go to sell it, so if it's profiting $500,000, then now it's a 3x multiple. That means that it's worth $1.5 million.
Yeah.
Correct? Mm-hmm. Okay, so I got confused there at the beginning because some people say EBITDA, some people say just cash flow, profit. Like they're all different metrics, but I look at it from the true profit, which is technically EBITDA. So at that multiple, now the goal of when you buy a business, at least for me, is I want to buy back to the buy box at a 3x multiple. So if I'm buying a business for $1.5 million, that means it needs to be doing $500,000 a month, right? A year, correct. So it's funny, I'm actually thinking about something really quick that popped in my head. That's before the debt payment.
Yes.
That's before the debt payment. So let's clarify that. I want to clarify that on people will be like, wait a second, dude, you're talking about two different things. Before the debt payment. So like if I get a loan through SBA, the debt payment for the SBA loan comes out from that multiple profit that they're selling me the business for.
Yeah, and again, that's all different metrics that you're looking at.
So the idea here now is when I go to sell this business, let's say my goal is to not keep the business, but to grow the equity of the business in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. By taking that profit, for me, I don't want the job. Remember going back to I don't want the job. I take that profit and I pay a high-level person, an operator, to go in, and their job is to generate more revenue by doing marketing, sales, market expansion, all that stuff. We want them to go from a 3x multiple to where it's generating enough revenue to where it triggers. So in the business world, when you're making a certain amount of profit, it triggers different multiples, right? And so now we want to trigger a 5, maybe even a 10x multiple. So my business that I bought for a 3x multiple at 1.5, I can sell for a 5 or 10x multiple at...
Well, let's say it's now doing $2 million a year instead of, $500,000 a year.
And you sell at a 5x multiple.
Right. So if something you bought for 3, you're selling at 10.
$10 million, right? Instant fucking money in 5-10 years from just adding market expansion.
Now, there's a ton of work that it takes to get there.
100%.
But as people that hopefully have their head wrapped around what it's going to take to do that and staying in the right rooms, staying with the right mentors, and having the right peers, that you're going to be able to do that and not just execute on the deal and then just put all that behind you, think you're going to be able to do it by yourself. Because, as we've all seen, the folks that are in our circle, it's all about who you're around and them holding you accountable and you holding them accountable, and just networking and really. Well,
to your point here about that, I'm sure everybody's picked up here that like in this conversation, I'm like still kind of like wrapping my head around certain things, right? Because I'm still new at it.
Sure.
Right. And so that's why I'm in the group, because that's why these people are teaching me these things. And as I talk about it here, it's something like back to the reason why we do the podcast. I'm sharing my knowledge where I'm at now, not giving you bullshit or fluff or nonsense. I'm learning these things as I go, and I'm looking at these things as I go, right? And so back to the group, like these questions that I might have, I'm like, I could just get on this call on Wednesday and be like, yo, dude, what does this mean? Like, please break this down.
Right.
And now the absolute expert is like this, and this. Yeah. Call's recorded. I can go back and watch it 5 times.
Right.
And now I know the next time around. Going back to my point where like I didn't know how to read P&Ls. I didn't know how to look at ad backs. We have a guy now that's working with Tyson and I, who we're partnering up on this business deal. And Tyson was in a couple episodes back talking about raising capital, guys, if you guys don't know who he is. We have a guy that's coming in to help us talk to brokers and just do acquisitions because he wants to learn. And so we're kind of bringing him in on some things. And so he found us a deal and he brought some stuff and he talked to the broker. And now he's becoming this guy where it's like, I don't know how to look at these things. So he sends me a P&L. And I'm like, it was awesome because like I like to teach things because that's how I learn and I know that I know what I'm talking about. And so instantly I looked at this P&L and I was like, this isn't added back. This shouldn't be here. Why is this here? Let's ask the broker why this is here. And you start looking at them. And then we literally did a quick napkin math. And I was like, wait, they're saying they're cash flowing 280, but really they should be cash flowing about 375, right? That changes the entire metrics of the deal altogether, right? And then what the next year, so we looked at 2020, 2021, 2022, and 2023. So we looked at 4 years to get a 4-year average. And 2021, they were down. 2022, they were way up. 2023, they were back down. 2024, they were way back up. And so I was able to figure that out because I knew how to look at those line items on a P&L and go, this is wrong. Why is that there? What's going on here? And then you match it to tax returns. And then that's when you start doing the underwriting and all that deal stuff. But the reason why I know how to do that now is because I've been in these groups teaching me how to look at these things where I'm like, you just pick up. Same thing as like the boutique hotels. The real estate
that's
stuff.
Also what you're paying for.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
100%.
So there's value there.
Correct.
And figuring out who's the right audience for what it is you're trying to do. So anyway, well, cool. Well, I appreciate you kind of diving in a little bit there on that subject. I'm sure we'll get plenty of questions on that. We can rediscover that topic. And
as a matter of fact, we should ask Kyle to come and do an episode with us. That'd be fun. Yeah, I'll send him a message on a Wednesday and see if he wants to come on. I'm sure he'd love to. Yeah. If any of you guys are interested in Kyle's group, shoot us a DM. Well, we obviously know the guy, so we can make a connection. He does 3 events a year. I'm just gonna give him a quick plug. Since we've been talking about this guy forever, he does 3 events a year. And if you get a referral, I think you get a discount. So shoot us a message, and I think we can.
One of us get you linked up.
Yeah, we get you guys linked up. So, I mean, look, we can talk about businesses forever. I'm still new at it. I'm obviously actively working these things. We didn't even talk about all the actual deals I've put in and why they haven't gone through. Maybe we can talk about it another time. But bottom line is it's learning new things, trying out new things, doing new things, and doing things that are exciting. Right? That's my whole thing. Like I only do things that excite me now. And buying a business, man, I think is going to be like game changer. I see your stuff, right? And I'm like, fuck, man, this is badass. And a lot of people don't know that boutique hotels are actually, you're buying a business. You're not buying real estate. Right. It's a business backed by real estate, right? With anything else.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing, the market that we're in, we're actually getting these things basically at land value that actually has a cash flowing business on them. So, and then we just put our systems and processes and management and teams in place and let them do what they do. So I've been very, very fortunate.
Guys, we're doing these episodes. We're trying new things out. We're not experts at giving content. There's a million people out there throwing content in your face. If there's something that you don't like, share with us. We don't want to waste our time, but we also want to be able to give you guys stuff that we're learning. You saw today, right? I ask questions of things that I didn't know about before I come out here and give you guys information. The idea here is to share with you as we learn, as we grow, and do it on camera so that you guys can learn along with us for free, right? So if there's something you want to learn about, we have a gigantic network. We said that on the first episode. We can literally pick up the phone and ask anybody anything that you guys might want to learn about, whether they're how to free throw a basketball correctly, right? Like
shoot a free throw. Yes.
Yeah, sorry, throw a free throw. How to shoot a free throw correctly, right? Or like just like the simplest things, right? How to buy a deal, how to analyze a deal.
Or what are you going to do with your life after college? Or maybe you go to college and college isn't for you. Or you've been in the workforce trying to figure out your place in life, and we've got folks that are going through that same thing right now. So it doesn't necessarily have to all be correlated around real estate or buying businesses or arbitrage or midterm, short-term rentals. Those are things that we know a lot about. We also know a lot of other folks that are doing a lot of other things with raising capital and doing new construction and land development and trailer parks and RV parks. You name it, we probably have somebody in our network. So let us know, and we'll get them out here.
Yeah. I don't think there's anything that we don't have somebody on our network about about a specific thing. Businesses, real estate, literally anything. So, guys, we're here for you guys. With that being said, mosquitoes are killing my ankle. We'll see you on the next one.